10.2, simplify. Number one, y to the fifth to the second power. Anytime you're taking an exponent like this 5 here and you're raising it to another exponent, what you're going to want to do is multiply those. So we end up with y to the 10th. So not a whole lot to do on that one. Number two, y to the third to the negative fourth. Again, we've got an exponent being raised to another exponent, and again, we're going to multiply. So we've got y, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And so the addition to this one that we didn't have on the last one is we've got a negative exponent that we want to make positive. And the way that you're going to do that is move that term through the fraction line. So we've got an invisible fraction line below, so this y to the negative 12th, the term with the negative exponent goes through, becomes positive on the other side, so it's going to be y to the 12th when it gets to the bottom, and we just make sure to put a 1 on top if there's nothing else there. Number 3, 2 to the negative 4th to the negative 1 power, multiplying those again, so we end up with negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4, and anytime you've got a number with an exponent, you'll want to go ahead and expand that. 2 to the 4th is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 4 times 4, you end up with 16. Number 4, 3 outside the parentheses, 6 into the third, all that to the second power. You want to be multiplying these exponents, the 3 and the 2, but you also want to remember that the 6 has an exponent that you want to multiply by the 2 also. So I'll write it this way. Multiply each exponent inside by 2. Multiply each exponent inside the parentheses by 2. So the 3 is not going to be raised to the second power, so leave it. But 6 is, the 1 times the 2 gives you 2. And then n, 3 times the 2 gives you 6. So there's going to be a couple steps on this problem. On the inside, 6 to the second will make that 36. 6 to the 6 times 6. And then n to the 6th. And then all you'll need to do is just multiply those. And then we've got n to the 6th. 3 times the quantity b to the negative 2 to the third. And again, multiply these exponents. Everything inside the parentheses is being raised to the third power. So we end up with 3 and then b to the negative 6. And remember, before you put in a final answer, make sure your exponents are positive. And the b in this case is the only thing that's going to move because the exponent on the 3 is 1, so it's not going to move through the fraction line. But this b has a negative exponent, so it's going to move through. End up with b to the positive 6 on bottom and 3 to the first on top. Number 6, negative 4 times 5ab squared to the 0 power. One nice thing about this one is this parentheses is being raised to the 0 power. Anything raised to the 0 power is equal to 1. So that whole parentheses, since it's been raised to the 0 power, is really just the number 1 and the negative 4 outside of it. Anything to the 0 power is 1. Number 7, 3y to the negative 2 to the negative third power. Make sure you take every exponent on the inside of that parentheses to that negative third power. So remember there's a 1 that's the exponent of the 3. So multiplying all those, 1 times negative 3, we get negative 3. And then with the y, negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. And at this point, make sure anything with a negative exponent, before we put in our final answer, make sure that goes through the fraction line. So since the y has a positive exponent, it's going to stay where it's at. 3 goes to the bottom, its exponent becomes 3. And then with the numbers that have exponents, at the end you'll want to expand those. So we've got y to the 6th, and then 3 to the 3rd is 27. Number 8, negative 2 times 3a to the 3rd, b to the negative 1, all that to the negative 2 power. So here, every exponent inside, not the 2 out front, but everything inside that parentheses, we're going to raise its exponent to the negative 2 power. So multiply each exponent inside by negative 2. So this negative 2 out front, I'll just go ahead and leave that. This 3 had a 1 exponent, so 1 times negative 2. A, and then 3 times negative 2. B, and then negative 1 times negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2 is positive 2. And then at this point, you'll want to move any exponents that are negative. So this term here is going to go below. That part there, going to go below. Everything else is going to stay above the fraction line. So ultimately, I'll write another fraction line. On bottom, we've got 3 now to the positive 2. A now to the positive 6, and then up top we've got negative 2, and then just that b to the 2nd. And then lastly, we've got 3 to the 2nd on the bottom, so negative 2b to the 2nd over 3 squared, which is 9. Number 9, x to the 5th over y to the 2nd. Just like the previous ones, when you've got a parentheses, every exponent inside, you're taking times that exponent on the outside. Remember, there's a 1 here with the y, so we're going to multiply these exponents. So x to the 10th, 5 times 2. And then on bottom, y, 1 times 2 is just 2. And that's all there is to that one. Number 10, just a little bit more involved, but still same concept. Make sure you remember that 6 has an exponent of 1, and we're going to multiply all those exponents inside, including the 1 on the b, times 3 that's on the outside. So this is going to be 6, and then 1 times 3 is 3. A, and then 2 times 3 is 6. B, and then 2 times 3 is 6. And then on bottom, B, and then 1 times 3 is 3. So a couple things we'll want to do here. Next, we've got B on top and B on bottom. You're going to want to subtract those exponents. And then with this 6 to the 3rd, you'll want to expand that also. 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. And then we've got a to the 6th and b to the 6 minus whatever the exponent is on bottom. So that's where we're subtracting the exponents. So then ultimately we've got 216, a to the 6th, and b, 6 minus 3 is 3. Number 11, 3a over b to the negative 2, all that in parentheses to the 3rd. Same idea as on the last couple. One times 3, a, and then 1 times 3. And then on bottom, b, and then negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Make sure that your negative exponents go through the fraction line. That doesn't always mean it goes through the fraction line going down. Sometimes it means going through the fraction line going up. So in this case, that b to the negative 6, in order to become positive, it's got to go upward. Also, this 3 to the 3rd, we're going to expand that. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. A to the 3rd, and then b going up now is positive 6. Nothing on bottom anymore, so no need for a fraction. You can just write it like that. Number 12, 2 to the 3rd, a to the 2nd, b over b squared. All that to the negative 2 power. Remember, there's a exponent of 1 on that b there. On bottom, b and then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And then a few different ways you could deal with this. Let's go ahead and make our exponents positive. So this is going to move, this is going to move below, this is going to move below, and then the b to the negative 4th has to go up through the fraction line to become positive. So basically, everything on top's coming down, everything on bottom's going up. This is basically just flipping. So we've got b to the 4th, and then on bottom, 2 to the 6th, a to the 4th, b to the 2nd. And a couple things there. We've got b on top, b on bottom. So we'll go ahead and subtract those. Make sure you subtract on top. And then there's 2 to the 6th on the bottom. We'll go ahead and expand that also. So we've got b to the 4 minus the exponent that's on bottom. And then below, we've got 2 to the 6th, which is 64. And then a to the 4th. Then ultimately, if you do that subtraction up top, 4 minus 2, and then 64a to the 4th. Number 13, 4x to the 2nd, y to the negative 1, over 3x to the negative 2, y to the negative 3rd. So just like normal, when you've got a parentheses with an exponent on the outside, you want to multiply every exponent inside times that one on the outside. Here we've got a different exponent on the outside up top, different exponent on the outside on the bottom. Same concept still applies though. You might write those little ones on the ones that don't have an visible exponent that's written, but still 4 to the 1st, 3 to the 1st, and also that y on the bottom is to the 1st power. So we're going to multiply these. 1 times negative 2, and then x, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, y, and then negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. On bottom, we've got 3, and then 1 times negative 3, x, and then negative 2 times negative 3, which is positive 6, and then y to the negative 3. Okay, and then next, different ways you could go about going through the steps on this one. None of them really that much faster than any others. I'm just going to go ahead and make these exponents positive on the next step. So that's going to move below, that's going to move up, that's going to move below, and then the y to the negative 3rd is going to move up. So be careful that you keep things where they're meant to be. On top, you've got y to the 2nd that was already there, and then now a y to the 3rd that's moved up. On the bottom, you've got 4 to the positive 2 now. You've got x to the positive 4 that's moved down, and then we also already had that x to the 6th. So a couple things after that, we've got some y's on top and bottom. If you're multiplying the same base, you add exponents. This came up on a previous lesson, but add the exponents here. Same with the x's. So we've got y to the 5th up top, 4 squared is 16, and then we've got x to the 10th.